Hello and welcome to the 6 Stages of Perception. My name is Sherry Vanterhaag, psychic medium and spiritual teacher. Albert Einstein quoted, "The only real valuable thing is intuition." Our reality on the earth plane can be categorised into 3 aspects: the known, the unknown, and the unknowable. The known is fairly obvious. It's what we have proven through scientific research. The unknown is what we have yet to discover. And the unknowable, well, this is the mystery of the universe, that which can never be known. And while we are in human form, we cannot perceive the great mysteries of the universe. To make known of the unknown is the deepest discovery in life. The sixth sense is real. It's just as important as all of our other 5 senses. Inadvertently, everyone uses their sixth sense. Have you ever walked into a room and noticed something different about the atmosphere, or picked up on a spirit energy around you but not known who it was? This is your sixth sense. There's nothing wrong with feeling and knowing things. It's what we are all made up of. It's natural and normal. Working with ESP, extrasensory perception, is the ability to receive information that is not gained through the recognised physical senses. Beyond the physical senses, there are the 6 stages of perception, and they are clairvoyance, the extrasensory perception of seeing; clairaudience, the extrasensory perception of hearing; claircognizance, the extrasensory perception of knowing; clairaudience, the extrasensory perception of smelling; clairsentience, the extrasensory perception of feeling; and clairgustance, the extrasensory perception of tasting. Let's begin with the most commonly known, clairvoyance. The French word clairvoyance comes from the 17th century, and it means clear vision, or second sight. It's the ability to see with the third eye through visions. These visionary messages are pictures or images, either symbolic or very direct in nature. Other visions appear within the mind of a psychic subjectively, such as in the case of me when I was working giving healing to one of my students during a workshop. I laid my hands upon Loris to give her healing and received a vision of a large lotus flower. The lotus flower is a symbol of eternity. It's said to represent the human soul, as well as many gods and goddesses. In Buddhism, it represents the divinity and the purity of body, mind and speech. The pink colour represents the heart, while the white, purity. I explained my vision to Loris, and she was overjoyed. Excitedly, she said to me, "Wow, I have just celebrated my 60th birthday, and my lovely daughter decorated the cake with a beautiful lotus flower on it." We understood the dual meaning of this message for her. Firstly, her guardian angels were acknowledging her special occasion birthday, as they always loved to do. And secondly, they were giving credence to the wisdom and knowledge that she was opening up to during her healing course with me. I recall another time when I gave a reading to a young lady who had the presence of her grandfather very close with her. In my vision, he had a full head of thick hair. It was curly, grey hair. He had a huge pot belly, and he was standing in front of what seemed to be very large, tall fruit trees. In his hand, he held a large piece of fruit. I was midway through explaining this vision to the lady when she reached into her handbag and pulled out a photo of her grandfather, just as I described him. There he was, standing in front of this garden of tomato plants, over 6 feet tall and holding the largest tomato I'd ever seen. I was certainly surprised at the detail and the simplicity of my vision. And the lady, well, as with most people who have never had a reading before, was extremely impressed and delighted, though I'm sure the thought of me rummaging through her handbag definitely crossed her mind. Naturally, there are other times when the vision is symbolic, and the message may require a little bit more deciphering to work out. Some mediums have very strong clairvoyant gifts, such as my favourite medium James Van Praagh, who describes spirit in perfect detail, even to the finer markings on their clothes. Others that I know actually have visions in a spirit type of shadow form, so it can be different for each medium. Clairaudience, a form of extrasensory perception, means clear hearing. And this is one of my strengths as a medium. I constantly hear spirit messages in this way. It's the ability to receive divine guidance in the form of voices, sounds or music within the inner mental ear. From the very first time that I became clairaudient, it has been the most valuable insight and a gift which I truly enjoy and rely on. Quite exceptional in its accuracy, I'm continually amazed at the extent of detailed information I receive via this means. Although it's not on my agenda, I hear spirit passing on their messages through a dialogue in my head as clearly as I am speaking to you now. The messages are always distinct, profound and clear. I can be immersed in household chores when all of a sudden I hear a beautiful voice. Sometimes it's just a single word. However, it's usually that one word that often happens to be the guiding light to my problem. Of course, Spirit won't make it easy for me. They like to give me words with which I am unfamiliar. And as a result, I will feel like I'm going crazy until I look up its definition, which then offers me profound insight. It's actually quite wonderful. Some of the words I've had to look up include anomaly, dubious, apathy, opulence, reverence, ambivalent, precarious, and contrived. Clairaudience has been a great tool during my readings. I've heard countless names of people who've passed over. Those who are willing to share their names make it very easy for us to connect with their loved ones. Thanks to my loving guides, I've also had many reassuring messages about my loved ones and my children through clairaudience. Clairaudience is a very clear and distinct way to hear messages from your spirit guides. It may be something that develops for you over time. After years of reading, I know the difference between my own thoughts and a clairaudient message. Claircognizance is another psychic gift which seems to be a seed of thought within the mind. Simply put, it's the capability to just simply know things without any specific, scientific or logical explanation at all. You may even have had an experience like this yourself. It's like a speeding thought that enters your mind, or you speak a sentence to wonder where it came from. After many years of reading, I still find it fantastic to blurt out a sentence and then say, I don't even know why I said that. However, at the time, it is so relevant to the person I'm speaking with. One time during a reading for a girl called Katie, I was clearly trying to say the word certificate, but it came out as something else every time. I almost felt like I had no control over my mouth. Katie had her grandfather come through for her, and she was very teary, despite never having met him before. He was clearly a guide for her, and he came to me with the initials of R and A, which equated to his name Ronald Arthur. Along with many other details, we confirmed it was indeed Katie's grandfather on her father's side. He knew that Katie smoked cigarettes, and he said that she should give them up. He really didn't like the idea of her smoking, so to emphasise his point, this is what happened next. "Katie, I feel that you're soon to finish some studies. Is that true? Because I can see some cigarettes." We laughed and giggled for a while, and Katie confirmed that she was nearly finished her diploma. In the midst of the laughter, I continued, "No, what I meant to say was, I can see some cigarettes." As much as I tried to get the word right, it wouldn't come out of my mouth. We laughed again, and I kept saying, "I can't say it. I know what I'm trying to say." Shaking my head, I tried again. "What I'm really trying to say is, cigarettes!" Oh my God, it happened again. It was so funny, and Katie was still crying, but this time in tears of laughter. As much as I tried, I could not say the word certificates. Eventually I did, but it took me 4 times. People can sometimes get a little bit guarded or react strongly to the information given to them by a psychic. As though we know their intimate details, have read their mind or deciphered their body language, but a good psychic knows nothing about a person until they act as a channel for messages from a higher source. And this divine source is the universe. This includes the many realms of the spirit world where our guides and angels reside. Much of the time, I will not remember the things that I've said in a reading, and spirit will sometimes pass on their messages in more inventive and unusual ways that we can imagine ourselves, especially when it comes to messages that are directly and specifically for you. Claircognizance is just a pure knowing, and we can really not explain that. It was like the time I knew my girlfriend was pregnant with a little girl. Although she wasn't telling anybody, I just knew. Most people who have these forms of knowing will question it. But eventually ESP will become a normal and accepted part of the human interaction, and we will not fear these things. Clairaudience means clear smelling. Yes, spirit can leave smells around to inform us that they are nearby. Have you ever smelt your grandmother's favourite perfume or flower, or even your grandfather's tobacco or pipe? I've heard of many people who've also had experiences with clairaudience, clear smelling. Once while I was at home alone, I smelt the most sensational aroma lingering in the air. I had never before smelt anything like it, and it was most certainly difficult to describe. I knew it had to be the scent of an angel, and those who have had similar experiences will agree with me that it's like nothing man-made. I only wish that I could have caught it in a bottle. Angels have a beautiful scent, and it is obvious that they are able to share it with us. During a healing course with a small group of 6 people, the wonderful scent of sandalwood wafted through the air, gradually becoming stronger and stronger, and then it completely disappeared. Everyone commented on the aroma. We all smelt this strong sandalwood fragrance. No one was wearing the scent, and I certainly wasn't burning the oil. In a similar incident, when I was taking a group of ghost hunters through an old jail, everybody in the group commented on the lingering aroma. Firstly, there was a wonderful aroma of cinnamon, and then one of lime. Both were quite overpowering, right as if they were under our noses. Strangely, for the entire tour with this particular group of people, the smell was everywhere. But as soon as the next group started, the smell had completely disappeared. You can smell your grandmother's perfume or favourite flower when she's nearby. It is the way she wishes to communicate with you. It's quite beautiful, and it's the message that gets us thinking of them. other aspect of our intuition is called Clairsentience. This refers to the ability of a person to receive psychic knowledge through feeling. Sentience comes from the Latin word sentire, which means to feel. So clairsentience means clear feeling. Mediums and psychics feel a lot. It is, after all, how we do our work. In fact, everybody receives impressions through emotional and physical sensations. We have all had feelings about people. We've all sensed feelings about certain situations in our lives, and we refer to this as our gut feeling. Clairsentience is recognised by Buddhism as the ability obtained as a result of advanced meditation. It is the ability to be able to feel the vibration of other people. There are many different degrees of clairsentience, ranging from the perception of diseases to feeling the emotions of others. I found this sense to be the initial gateway to my own psychic ability. When first beginning to read with tarot cards 23 years ago, I would get a strange feeling in my solar plexus to determine my answers. At that stage, I was really unaware of how I received answers. All I knew was the way I felt, and the way I felt was always right. Back then, clairsentience was my main ability, and I knew that and I worked with it. Of course, since then, over time, other abilities have developed. However, in those early days when I would give readings from my bedroom in my mother's house, I would receive a feeling of fullness in my solar plexus or stomach if something was true, and if it wasn't true, I would feel nothing. I also received impressions from spirit about deceased relatives. I had many visions, but my clairaudient ability developed years later. I used a pack of tarot cards called the Enchanted Tarot. With each person, I'd be drawn to something on the card, an expression on a face, a particular part of these very detailed cards, and I would just feel my way through it. Sometimes clairsentient people can receive very vivid emotions and feelings, even to the point of physical complaints. I certainly have. I've received a sharp pain in my head to indicate headaches, or a backache for sore backs. I found it hard to breathe. I felt like I was choking, or had chest pains. All very slight, but enough to indicate how a person has passed, or how the person for who I'm reading feels. Thankfully, the feeling comes and goes very quickly. The final form of extrasensory perception is one I've not yet experienced. It's a form of ESP that is associated with the extraordinary ability of tasting, clairgustance. Meaning clear tasting is the ability to identify the essence of a substance from a spiritual dimension through taste. So we can actually taste a substance without putting it in one's mouth. It all sounds very interesting, and I must admit it's something that I've never tried. I cannot speak from experience, but it can only mean one thing: there must be food in heaven. How wonderful. These are the 6 psychic senses, or 6 stages of perception. Psychics and mediums are usually gifted with one or more of these senses. As an experienced medium with 23 years' experience, I use 5 of these 6 senses, and over time you can develop them also. I hope that this audio CD has given you a better understanding of the 6 stages of perception.